Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. This episode is brought to you by Squirrel's Nut Butter. Who doesn't need a little extra lube in their life? They make adventure lube. It's the best in the business. I use the saddle butter for riding and the anti-chafe for ultra running. It's all natural ingredients, sustainable packaging, and it's locally manufactured here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And go check out episode number 4 with Chris Thornley. He's the owner and operator of Squirrel's Nut Butter. He's an amazing human, and he's got some really great stories on that podcast. So check him out. You can use my unique promo code, Endurance15, for 15% off any of their products online at squirrelsnutbutter.com, or you can click the link in the description and it will automatically be applied to your shopping cart. So please use that code, go buy from them, let them know that their support of this podcast is paying off for them, and spread that lube love. squirrelsnutbutter.com. I wanted to let you know a few different ways that you can support this podcast. Of course, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell other people about it. Tell your friends and family. If you think these conversations I'm having are valuable as I think they are, share it, send it out, ask them to subscribe. That would be amazing. That's a free way that you can support. Another way you can support is by financially support is by becoming a member on either YouTube or Spotify. Those links are always in the description of all the videos. And YouTube members do get some extra perks like member shoutouts during the podcast, priority reply to comments, and best of all, you get early access to new videos that I'm releasing. You can also, if you don't want to sign up for a recurring membership, you can also show me your support by sending a one-time gift using what YouTube calls the Super Thanks feature. So when you're watching a video, down at the bottom, there's the little buttons, the thumbs up, thumbs down button. And right next to that, there is a heart with a little dollar sign in the middle, and it says thanks next to it. That is the Super Thanks button. So if you click that, it'll allow you to give a one-time gift, financial gift of your choice. And it's just incredible. Like seeing the support that I've gotten so far from both members and from Super Thanks is just amazing, and it is definitely allowing me to keep this thing rolling down the tracks. Hey guys, welcome back to another solo episode of the Endurance Studio. Today I want to talk about something that has been on my mind recently. Been going back and forth on it as I watch other endurance racers and bikepackers, and that is SRAM AXS wireless shifting. I had it at one point in time. I had a bike. I had an Ibis Ripley. It had AXS GX shifting on it. I bought this bike during COVID, so it was a pre-owned purchase. It was pretty much the only thing available. So I got it. I didn't have to make the choice on whether or not I actually wanted mechanical or wireless shifting. So I jumped in, got it, and I learned a lot during that process. I no longer have that bike, and I have switched back to mechanical shifting. And I think for bikepacking and endurance riding, I'll never go to wireless shifting. And I'll get into those reasons a little bit later. I'm pretty much on this episode going to go over all the upsides and downsides and my final verdict on where I'm at after I've had it and not had it. So I'm not going to dive into the weeds too much. This isn't like an official review. I'm just like in my liquid nutrition episode, I'm going to talk about my experiences and the justification for the decisions that I've made. And hopefully it can help you all out. And if you disagree with them, that's cool too. Put it in the comments. I love hearing counter arguments, and I love a good, solid debate. That's what makes this country great, is the ability to have our own opinions. So I'm not going to talk about the SRAM T-type transmission that just came out. I did not have that on the Ripley. I had one of the first releases of the SRAM AXS wireless shifting. But pretty much the fundamental pros and cons of the things that I've outlined are going to stay consistent. So let's jump into some of the things that I liked about the SRAM AXS system on that Ibris Ripley that I had. So the first thing is this bike was like kind of a showpiece. And the GX wireless system definitely added to that trophy bike kind of look. The bike was almost so pretty that I didn't want to go ride it. And that was cool because I've always wanted a bike like that. But at the same time, that was very uncool because first time I put a scratch in the carbon or put it down on its side, I cringed, and it's like I can't have nice things. And I decided I don't want to own bikes like that. I don't want to own bikes that I'm afraid to use. So I want to own bikes that I'm going to beat up. And with bikepacking, things are going to get beat up. Endurance riding, things are going to get beat up. You go through unknown terrain. It just happens. So that's one thing I learned. That was kind of a side note. But leading into that, the ultra clean look of the SRAM AXS is really cool. It has no cables. It's got a wireless derailleur with a battery down at the derailleur, at the rear derailleur. And it's got a wireless shifter with a couple of one small little battery, a coin style battery that goes into it. So really cool, clean look. I love that look with the wireless dropper and the wireless shifter. It just makes for a nice arrangement and simplifies things a little bit. So that's pretty cool. I did notice how precise the shifting was. I was coming from an XT, Shimano XT drivetrain on my hardtail titanium bike that I had previously, or that I had at the same time. And I could definitely tell the shifting was great. It was precise. It had a nice solid feel, and it was very consistent when comparing it to the XT shifting. One of the other things that was really neat that SRAM seemed to have figured out is when you're doing maintenance or removing the rear wheel, you can lower the derailleur cage, and they have like a little lock button on it. So you can press that and lock that cage out. So it releases the tension on the chain. So it's much easier to take off the quick link on the chain or to take off the back wheel. It's really a small thing, but Shimano doesn't have that on theirs for some reason. And I really appreciated that. So that goes into the pro category. It had the ability to do micro step adjustments from the app, which is kind of cool. So you download the SRAM app and you can go in and actually do your micro fine adjustments on your derailleur. So instead of the traditional barrel adjuster where you can adjust that fine-tuned position of where that derailleur in the chain line is sitting on your rear cassette. You do it through an app. So you go in and just press, do one step this way or one step that way, and it'll slightly move. Very, very precise, very cool. It also has a overload clutch system that prevents damage by disengaging the motor gearbox. So this saves the shift motor and the other hardware when you smash the derailleur on a rock. I have a tendency to kill rear derailleurs pretty quickly, and this is a very expensive derailleur. So this was cool. This was a feature I used multiple times. So when you're riding and you smack it against a rock, that thing releases and then repositions back into the same spot. So you're saving your derailleur hanger, and you're saving the derailleur itself from taking damage, unnecessary damage, and getting bent and needing replacement. So really cool system that is built into it that I very much appreciated. One of the other things that you can do with the electronic system is you can put electronic triggers on something like aero bars using what's called the SRAM wireless blip shifters. So I haven't done this myself, but a friend of mine has, and he spends a lot of time in his aero bars, specifically for some wrist problems. So it's really a fantastic way that he is able to work around a traditional bar setup. So he spends a lot of time in those aero bars, and he can just, use his thumbs or his fingers to trigger the shifting on the wireless shifters. So that's also something you couldn't do with, as far as I know, with cable actuated shifting. The trigger shifter design in general, I found the SRAM AXS wireless trigger was comfortable. It came with two different styles of triggers, so you could actually switch it out depending on which one you preferred better. And it was two different button configurations, very easy to press. I've heard people say they get hand fatigue from during endurance ride. So we're talking like multiple days or weeks even. Kurt Refsnyder, for example, mentioned to me once about the hand fatigue possibilities with a traditional cable-driven shifting system, and that the SRAM AXS could alleviate that a little bit because you don't have to press as hard. You're not actually physically moving a cable when you're pressing in the trigger shifter, which is then moving the derailleur. You're just kind of clicking it, and it's moving on its own with the battery power there. So that's one upside as well. So that's pretty much all the upsides I found. Clean, shifted well, and had a couple of mechanical advantages there with that. Generally speaking, there's a lot more fundamental problems that I found with this system, specifically with bikepacking and endurance racing, and not just me. I'll get into that in a little bit. So I just want to back up. I'm comparing this experience to my XT drivetrain that I had on my titanium hardtail. And then I am also comparing it to the bike I purchased after I sold the Ripley with the GX AXS system on it, because I ended up selling that bike and buying this bike right behind me. You can see this Specialized Epic Evo with a full cable XTR drivetrain on it. So that's what I'm comparing to, GX to XT and XTR. So the first thing that kind of led me in this decision was just generally the cost and the weight of the two systems when comparing. So now comparing the GX to the XTR system. For example, a replacement GX derailleur is around $350, and with the battery, that whole derailleur system weighs 464 grams. to compare that, a replacement XTR rear derailleur is $275 and weighs around 240 grams. So the GX system is heavier and more expensive. The GX derailleur is also bigger and bulkier because of that battery. So it sticks out a little more on the back, and the Shimano, I think it's called like Shadow Plus or something, keeps that derailleur very cleanly tucked in underneath the cassette. So that's really, really nice for the mechanical advantage, an advantage for the mechanical derailleur. Generally speaking, I dislike having to constantly remember to charge things. So that's all my electronics. Talking about my MP3 player, my navigation system, my spot tracker. As the world is moving more towards rechargeable systems, but the world has not gotten to the point for fully sustainable systems that don't require recharging for multi-day events. So like my Garmin 1040, my 1040 Solar navigation is really pretty good. It can last 3 to 4 days without a recharge, which is pretty incredible, but it's still not quite there as a fully one-to-one solar recharging unit. So when I'm bikepacking specifically, everything is mental energy for me. Every little thing I have to think about or worry about, or which cable to bring, or when I'm going to stop to recharge something, or it's all mental energy. It all goes into it. It's all those little drops in the bucket. So, I like to eliminate those things, not add those things when I can. I mean, I kept the Garmin eTrex 30 forever, which is battery, AA lithium batteries, because I refused to have to go to a different navigation system. Finally, I bit the bullet on that one, got rid of the Garmin eTrex, and it went with the 1040 Solar. It has a bunch of advantages. This isn't a Garmin 1040 Solar review, but it has a bunch of advantages that make it worth the downside of adding that battery system to my bikepacking process. So, but I'm still sticking with a Spot Gen 3, which has batteries, and it works just fine. So I don't have to worry about recharging that. So my point is now adding a component of, I got to carry batteries, SRAM AXS batteries on my bikepacking trips, and I got to make sure they're charged and yada, yada, yada. Or even when I had the Ripley, I had to remember to charge it so that I could go ride my bike. It just bothered me. That idea bothered me. And maybe I'm old, but that I got to be honest, it just bothered me, that idea. So eliminating things that I have to recharge when possible makes sense to me, right? One of the biggest question marks that I had in my mind with this SRAM AXS system is, why hasn't Shimano released a similar companion type system or a competitive system? It's a huge question mark, and it's a big red flag for me. It seems like, at least with what happened with 12-speed technology, SRAM got there first. They released the Eagle 50 tooth, 12-speed, or 52 tooth. I don't even know how many teeth. I think it's 52 now, and Shimano's 51. But they got there first. They got to those big cogs first, and then Shimano released things a couple years later. They seem to take a slower, more calculated approach to things, and they're okay accepting that they're sometimes not first to market, but they put out a product, in my opinion, that may last longer and is more tested and a little bit more thought out. And I'll get into the reasons why on the system in a second. But first, before that, I want to dive into the electronic system that Shimano does offer. It's called Di2. And it's, for those of you that don't know, it's, I didn't know until I started to dive into the research for this video. It is actually it's considered a semi-wireless system, which is quite interesting. So diving into that system a little bit, it is only currently available for road bikes, and then they released a gravel version, and they also have released a couple versions for e-mountain bikes, but they don't have anything right now for a traditional mountain bike that is fully electronic shifting or fully wireless shifting. Very interesting. So the Di2 system, it does have wireless shifting levers. So it does send a Bluetooth signal from the lever to the derailleur to shift. And that's the only part of it that's fully wireless, which is interesting. So the battery is bigger than the SRAM battery, and it is mounted inside of the seat tube on a road bike or a gravel bike, up inside of the seat tube. So it's longer and narrower, and it mounts up inside. And then there are wires that run from that battery, electronic wires that run from the battery down through the frame into the rear derailleur and then into the front derailleur if you have one, if you have a 2x system. And that sends the power to the motor on the rear derailleur and front derailleur. So the battery, the main difference is the SRAM system, the SRAM AXS system, the battery is mounted on the rear derailleur, where the Shimano system, the battery is mounted up inside of the seat tube, protected a lot more up in there. And the way you recharge the Shimano Di2 system is there's a little flap on the rear derailleur that a little cover, plastic cover thing. You pull that off and you plug it in, and it charges that way. So downside, it doesn't have a replaceable battery. Upside, the battery is very well protected. And I believe that this is a key component in the engineering of the two different systems, which causes a lot of issues with the SRAM system. So a couple other little bonus items. The battery, the Shimano battery, is claimed to last 2 times longer than SRAM's. And again, like I said, it's recharged through the port on the derailleur. So it's kind of fundamentally a different sort of power system that they've used on these two different systems. So yeah, AXS seems, in general, it seems to be really a good solution for day riding and for the weekend warriors. But it's definitely being tested to its limits with endurance racing and bikepacking and any kind of ultra endurance event. There's just been a lot of it's issues that have been revealed with it that I've noticed over the last few years. Specifically, there are 3 examples I have here that I want to show you that are reported SRAM battery issues from ultra endurance racers.
Back riding, and I'm ready for the long shift now because I'm a bit behind the schedule. Oh, what happened? Electronics and water doesn't go together alone, and that's probably what happened. Like everything, the SRAM batteries, they were not taking charge. They were not giving anything to the derailleur. So at the end, I had to, first made a single speed one which I carried for a while. Then the chain snapped. Then I had a push bike until Flag Ranch. And there I spent some time drying stuff out, trying various cables. Nothing worked. Got myself a lift to Jackson. There I got new batteries, new charger, and I had the spare chain. So I'm back on track.
I had one mechanical scare and one mechanical. Maybe at hour 6, my GPS told me that my derailleur battery was low. And so I had axis shifting. So I had one battery on my derailleur. I had a dropper post, which, by the way, I was really happy that I had throughout the whole race, which had a battery in it that I knew that if I needed to, I could use that battery, and I had one spare. Based on the thousands of miles of riding around with Axis, in my mind, that was plenty for 50 plus hours of riding. But to get a warning after having everything fully charged the night before, 6 hours in, that one of my batteries was critically low, that freaked me out. So I swapped the battery from the dropper post to the derailleur and vice versa. So I don't think actually the battery was that low because my dropper post worked the entire rest of the race with that battery that warned me it was critically low. And then I never put my spare one in, and with 3.5 miles to go, I got that, it just stopped working. I didn't have like a battery low warning or anything, and so I thought, oh, no big deal, my battery's low. I'll just put the fresh battery in. Nothing. Then I tried waking up, I tried doing all kinds of things. I swapped the batteries around, and just like, it didn't work. Since I got home, I've since tried to get it to work, and it still won't work. I changed the battery in my shifter. So I'm pretty sure it's just completely brain dead. So I've never really had any problems with Access, but I'm pretty sure it's toast.
And so, but it's the third time that I have to reattach my rack with the hardware piece. That and my SRAM batteries. I was single speed for like 3 nights. So it's a bit disappointing, all of these little mechanical. And yeah, when I was in Montana, I had a bit of a meltdown of like, why am I doing this with it that's not working?
So the one thing that all these situations have in common are the wet and the cold. It's pretty common knowledge that water and cold are the enemies of battery technology. I think on an endurance ride, keeping the water and the muck and the nastiness out of your stuff, your batteries, your derailleur, especially if you're going through creeks and streams and stuff, it's going to be a losing battle. You're going to get the system wet, and they claim it's waterproof, but water's going to get down in there, and you have pins and you have electricity flowing through those pins, and then you add water. Eventually you're going to have issues with it. It's going to short out systems. It's going to corrode. It's just going to have problems. The difference with the Shimano system, like I said before, is that battery is up in the seat tube. So you're going to have a lot less possibilities of issues. Now, we didn't see any Shimano systems on the Tour Divide this year, the 2024 Tour Divide. So, that's interesting, probably because it's a kind of an issue to recharge. Whereas in the SRAM system, you can just carry extra batteries and hot swap your batteries as you're riding. So like, there's an upside and a downside to that. So, yeah, I just think that, if you're going to use a SRAM system, if you're going to use a SRAM AXS system in endurance rides, and you're going to be going through unknown conditions, you are likely at some point going to lose your shifting capabilities. I think that's just a known fact. If you use a mechanical system, you're not. It's just not going to happen. Systems aren't there. And if you have problems, you can likely replace a cable or adjust that way. Now, you always could smash your derailleur, have derailleur issues. There's an argument there for single speed, of course, but you have those same issues with both systems. So, yeah, very interesting thing that people are dealing with. And to be honest with you, I'm just not sure. I just cannot find the logic in putting an electronic shifting system on a bike where you're riding for 3 or more days. I just don't understand it. The technology is not there yet, and it's too big of a risk. So I wouldn't do it. So yeah, I think that kind of gets me to my conclusion, which if I ever do anything, 8 hours or more or multi-day, I'm going to stick with the mechanical system. I mean, I sold my Ripley. I sold the AXS system. I'm an endurance rider. That's what I do. So in my opinion, I'm never going to go with that system until the fundamental design of the technology changes. It'll be really interesting to see what Shimano comes out with. I think they will eventually come out with an electronic system, but the big question mark is going to be how are they going to deal with the recharging, and where are they going to locate the batteries so that they are protected and easy to replace, because I really think that that's what they're holding on to. So yeah, I think they're smart. I think Shimano is smart in holding back on their fully wireless mountain bike system. They're just, I'm sure they got plenty of engineers working on it, trying to figure out where they're going to go. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Keep this one short today. Just thought I'd share some thoughts with you on that. If you disagree with me, please let me know. If you think that there are, lots of success stories, which there are on the Tour Divide, there was something like 31 bikes that had the SRAM AXS system, and only a few have been reported, but that few reported issues is enough to convince me that it's one of those risks that I just don't want to take with my bikepacking systems. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for you, and hit up those comments, and yeah, thanks for watching.